you're a result of your environment. You are the accumulation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I was starting to pick up my patterns. I was starting to recognize, like, okay, you get tired of this job, so you go to this job. You get tired of hanging around these people, so you start hanging around different people, but they're technically the same people because you haven't shifted your energy. And I didn't really have that whole language behind it, but I was sharp enough to recognize that I was reliving cycles. And I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just cut it all. I'm gonna just cut it all off and really see what it's like to not have to depend on a job to keep me fed and keep me sheltered and keep me in the loop and having friends.
Today, I will be talking with Angelique Johnson, youth mental health advocate, who will share her story about disconnecting from societal norms and becoming homeless to rediscover who she was and the life she could live. Angelique, once a New Yorker, juggling 4 jobs just to survive, she eventually experienced homelessness on the streets of Los Angeles, where she battled depression and suicidal thoughts. Today, Angelique is an artist and author. She's taken her painful experiences and channeled them into creative endeavors that aim to inspire others. She is the author of Days of Darkness, a poignant exploration of her struggles and path to healing. In addition, she is the co-host of the Healing Conversations podcast, where she shares her insights and speaks with others about mental wellness, providing hope, encouraging dialogue, and connections around mental health issues. Welcome, Angelique, to Black Women Talking Back.
Thank
So
you.
much. Thank you so much for being willing to join our show today. There's so much of your story that is important to be told and to be heard. And so I'm not going to take up a lot of time talking myself. I'm really going to open the floor and keep you telling your story until we feel like you've told them enough today. You've spoken enough about your story today.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Angelique. For anyone who is listening for the first time, I'm an artist and author of a book called Days of Darkness, which is a telling of my early 20s and navigating depression and suicidal ideation and the insights that I gleaned from that season after some years of retrospection. And in that work, I'm also a youth mental wellness advocate. And one of the things that Aleese and I connected over was my time living on Skid Row and how I was able to be grounded in that space. I actually made a short film called Insights and Inspiration Skid Row, where I talk about my practice of gratitude, of meditation, of prayer, really allowing me to walk those streets and see and hear and smell all the different things taking place, but still look out with love, still extend grace, still have a courage and a confidence that I was divinely guided and protected. And that is something that I have ingrained within me. However, when I hear someone like Elise or other people who have seen that film reflect back to me how incredible that is, that I was able to live in that space and to hold myself with that groundedness, it reminds me just how powerful daily gratitude is, just how powerful meditation is, just how powerful community is, because I did not go through that situation in isolation. I did have people who I was able to connect with via Facebook and Instagram and in person as well, and just meet with on a regular basis to have those uplifting, high minded conversations, which really let me know that the situation I was in was temporary. And one of the beautiful things I was able to learn during that time was how to just be. So much of my life I had spent running, just trying to make ends meet, like very at the edge of existence and experience, running myself thin and being in unhealthy spaces just because I need a job. just because I'm living with this person and it makes the rent cheaper. So I just got to figure out how to make it work. And when I really allowed myself to just break down and say I need help and the shelter that I'm at is the help that is available for me now that has opened up for me. I really just let myself be in a gratitude. Just really be grateful that I was living in a shelter.
Yes.
And again, that's not a mindset most people have. Most people say like, "Oh, man, how did I get here? Why me? This is so terrible. I'm gonna be here forever." Like my life is so bad. But I was laying there on that cot in that bunk bed praying every night, just grateful that I had somewhere to be. Grateful that I could take a shower even though there were certain hours that I could take showers. Grateful that they did have food even if the food was a little questionable sometimes. And also on a schedule, and if you missed that schedule, then you just weren't allowed to eat, but I was still grateful that the resources were there, and that gratitude is what allowed me to stay focused on, okay, I'm grateful for this and I know that there is better for my life. So that's just kind of a little seed of what connected Elise and myself. We also were on the Agape Ghana trip and we had some really beautiful conversations there. So yeah, that's kind of how we connected and a little bit about me.
Thank you, Angelique.
Absolutely.
I so appreciate how you made note that you were grateful for where you were, but you also knew that there was something more. I think often that's we miss that in life. We're either so busy mourning the present or focused being fearful about the future when actually we can be grateful for where we are and what we have, and sometimes grateful for what we don't have. And at the same time, knowing and trusting and having faith that there's still more to come.
Mhm.
I think that's a beautiful, beautiful place point to make, and at this juncture of your introduction, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not an oxymoron to be grateful for today and still trust that there's more tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's actually something I've had to work through because growing up, I was really taught, like, be grateful for what you have. Like, stop asking for more, essentially. Just take what you got and be happy about it. And having that mindset throughout life, I settled into this complacency of just like, okay, these are the this is the work that I'm doing, this is the place I'm living, this is the relationship that I have, and I should just be happy that I'm not on the streets. I should be happy that I'm not living in Skid Row. And with that mindset and that mentality, it feels heavy.
Mm.
It doesn't really feel like gratitude. It doesn't actually feel like you're happy with what you have.
Right. Yeah.
And at
And
the
it
same time,
adds a level of guilt and shame because you know you really don't feel grateful. And
mhm,
you're being told that you should, but you
mhm.
don't. So, not only are you not grateful, but you have then shame and guilt going along with that.
Yeah,
Is a burden.
yeah. And it's like this whole uh, conundrum that's going on and this whole inner conflict that happens because you're like, okay, I'm not really feeling grateful for what I have, but I know I should be grateful for what I have. But why does it not feel good if I should feel grateful for it? And like I said, once I was able to, one, really step into my practice of daily gratitude, which happened after I left the apartment that I was at, living in that toxic relationship and living on the street, living in my car, living in shelters and other shelters, but always feeling like I can't be fully grateful for where I was. I was just practicing daily gratitude for my life. I was like, "Okay, I'm grateful for my life, but I'm not really
Grateful
grateful
for
for
this.
this." And so I had to build up that practice and really extend it out. And so living in Skid Row at Union Rescue Mission, that's the shelter I was at. living there, the way that I got into that space, I couldn't not be grateful for that. And so the way that I got there, I had been living with my mom in Memphis. I had planned on doing some youth programs with a friend. She said she has some connections with different schools and stuff. And so I'm like, cool, great. We're going to be out here, going to be changing lives. It's going to be fantastic. And that kind of not kind of, it fell through, didn't pan out how I had anticipated, and my mom basically was like, "You gotta find somewhere else to be, something else to do because you can't be here." And she said, I quote, "You gotta go struggle on your own." And I said, "Okay, heard." Not that I wasn't already struggling before, but okay, I'll go try again. And, I basically had 30 days to find something to do, find somewhere to be, and I didn't have any real connections or relationships outside of the friend that I went to work with. So I was just like, "Imma just go back to LA," and did it again, didn't have anywhere planned to stay, didn't know anybody that had the space for me to live, but I had been reaching out to different communities and asking, like, "Can you pray for me?" Mostly. I reached out to Agape Crisis Ministry, Oma Chichester. She was the practitioner that I got to work with, and she really just fed me with so much life and all these stories of God making a way out of no way. And so I was going back to LA with this knowing that something was gonna work out. And whatever it was, God had a place for me and it would be a good place. And so one of the places I reached out to, they had connections to Union Rescue Mission. It's a place called New City Church. It's downtown. And so I went to one of their events. They connected me with a caseworker, did my intake. And when I got there, I was literally smiling on my ID picture. And it was just so funny to me because I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person they've ever taken an ID picture for who was smiling. And I was profoundly aware that this was something that the universe had opened up for me. That this was not something that I put myself into, like previous situations when I was living in my car or in a shelter. It was because I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna find this. But I literally had no point of reference of where to go or who was actually going to help me. I was just putting things out there and saying, like, okay, God, this is in your hands. And it really did work out. And I was so grateful that I had the awareness that God ordered this, that this was divinely ordered. And that was what allowed me to have gratitude for being in the space, not just practicing gratitude for myself. Um, but yeah, yeah.
So, in our previous conversation, you said you made the intention, you were intentional about this, making the decision to disconnect from society and live in your car.
Mhm.
Um, are did you make that decision before you were at a place where you felt like God is in this and it's going to work out, or vice versa? So which came first? Your decision and you just trust that God's going to be there, or was it like God's got this, so I can make this decision and just disconnect and not worry about a thing? How did that happen?
Yeah, I appreciate that question because I was still very fresh in my practice at that time. I had maybe been on my personal development journey for like a year and a half at that point. And I really wasn't in like, let me build my relationship with God. It was still very much, I'm working on my mindset. I'm working on me. This is about me. It's not about me and God. It's about me. And I did have a relationship with the divine, and it was, like, very shallow, very, like, press in case of emergency, you know?
Yes.
And
Yes, I love that. I love that. Yes.
yeah, yeah, and so when I had this moment, it was like a breaking point. A lot of the like I said earlier, a lot of the moves that I made that were of my own sort of manipulation were done through breaking points. So I had reached a breaking point. And I just decided, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to stop working. I'm going to move out of this room that I'm in and I'm going to just get a car and live in a car and see what happens. It wasn't a spiritual decision at all. However, I will say that oddly enough, you know God is always present, omnipresent, right? What happened during that time allowed me to tap more deeply into my relationship with God because there was just so much silence and stillness, especially at nights. It kind of felt like every day was a pressing case of emergency. So I was just constantly in that space of like, okay, God, I'm here,
My hand is on the button.
Yeah, hand is on the button. I am present, send me whatever supports or just be with me because it's cold and it's dark and yeah, and I really was just able to get more deeply into it. And something that's hitting me right now, this memory, these days I do a regular practice with Palo Santo. And like when I light it, I have a mantra and it goes like gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I am always grateful. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I give thanks to my ancestors. I give thanks for my ancestors. I give thanks to the ancestors. And I remember one of the first like couple weeks I was in my car and I was just bawling, bawling, bawling and I had remembered that in this mindset development thing, gratitude was one of the energies that was used to shift circumstances. And so I'm just sitting behind the wheel, parked, crying, sobbing, just like breaking down. And I had this Palo Santo and I'm just saying this chant, this mantra, and this peace just started to wash over me. And I just was like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. Things are gonna be okay, and still like sobbing, but like really feeling that gratitude hit me in that way. And that's a practice is like I said, I still do that to this day. It's like a part of my morning routine. And I hadn't really thought about that moment in a while. But yeah, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't meant to be like a spiritual journey, but it definitely turned into one.
Yes. So the ancestors were not only was spirit source God always with you, but so were your ancestors always with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like the words just came to me. I hadn't like it wasn't something I really like it wasn't something I was raised with to like honor ancestors or, like elders, yes. Ancestors, it was
Yeah.
kind of like an over there kind of thing. But I had been learning these different things about resilience and how it follows through bloodlines and also like about paradigms and how things are passed along, generation to generation. And in that moment, I just was like, I know that all of that is here with me and it's all of it's guiding me. And it just poured out of my mouth. I was like, yeah, I do appreciate all the people that came before me and like, I forget if it's Oprah or Maya Angelou who says, like, "Walk like you have 10,000 ancestors behind you," And I guess that energy was also with me just recognizing I wasn't alone in this car sobbing by myself, that there was more energy there. There was more life there. There was more support there than I knew. And that's how it articulated.
Ashe. So I'm wondering, I want to go back to the intentional decision to disconnect from society.
Yeah.
How did you think that that would help the mindset?
Yeah.
What is it about society? Let's start with this question. What is about society that you feel like, even though things are already bad around here, I still need to disconnect from whatever this is, this culture, society? the system of things. One, how did that come up? I actually need to let go of that. I need to let go of that. And
Yeah.
how did you think that was going to help you? And
Yeah.
did it eventually?
It did help. I will say that aside from the spiritual growth that I was able to step into, I was also able to sit back and observe how society functioned. Like you have to work a job you hate so you can live in a place that's just big enough to meet your needs so that you can have just enough money to go to dinner with your friends or whatever. It was all like this very I was able to see the maze that has been constructed
Mhm.
in society. So it was definitely helpful. It definitely did serve me. And the intention behind it came from recognizing, like I said, I had been in a mindset investigation space. And one of the things that a lot of people who work in that space say is, are like, you're a result of your environment.
Yeah.
You are the accumulation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Myself and
So
I and me and me.
yeah, and, so I was like I was starting to pick up my patterns. I was starting to recognize, like, okay, you get tired of this job, so you go to this job. You get tired of hanging around these people, so you start hanging around different people, but they're technically the same people because you haven't shifted your energy. And I didn't really have that whole language behind it, but I was sharp enough to recognize that I was reliving cycles. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just cut it all. I'm gonna just cut it all off and really see what it's like to not have to depend on a job to keep me fed and keep me sheltered and keep me in the loop and having friends, right? So many people have this fear of missing out and not being able to do all the cool things, especially living in Los Angeles. There's so many different shows and things going on, and people are like, "Oh, you didn't go to such and such? Oh, it was amazing. It was a movie. You should have been there." And so it's like now you feel like you gotta have money to do that. And so I was just really pulling in my energy and really calling back my power because I had been so conditioned to link myself and my value to working so that I could survive. And I was coming to the understanding that I didn't need these things to survive. Like, I have life in my body. And I know prior to even prior to the industrial age, but life wasn't always like this. People didn't always live like this. And across the world, people don't live like this. So why am I doing this? Other people might enjoy it. That's them. I'm not enjoying it.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pull myself out of it so that I can see clearly where I am, what I want, and what my step should be in order to have my needs met. So that was the idea and the thought behind pulling out of society.
Wow. So most of us, just read a couple books.
I was like, no. One thing I will say about myself is that I will be about that action if I feel like I must. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a very kinesthetic, tactile learner. So I need to experience, I need to be in it. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, just something a thought. But yeah.
Wow. So you're like the Matrix when the guy gets himself out of a
Hmm.
cocoon and then he's like, and I gotta get other people out of the cocoon too. But you're like, I gotta get out of the cocoon. I gotta get out of the cocoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Because honestly, if I don't get myself out,
Right.
then how am I supposed to actually support other people with doing that?
Right.
Yeah.
But you saw how you were uniquely connected to society in a very and for you was a very dysfunctional way, not
Mm.
necessarily dysfunctional for other people, but for you. And so rather than like some of us, we think what's good for us is good for everybody else. So we want to bring everybody along. You were like, No, let me save my own life. Let
Mm.
me do what I need to do to save my own life. And that's just a brave step you took. Tell me, this may be a tough one, but if you could tell me one or two, I'd really like one. But that would probably
Mm.
be hard. So we'll go for two. Once you severed yourself from the umbilical cord and you were living off the grid, so to speak, your mind wasn't shaped by the cultural dictations around what you should be doing, what you should have, et cetera, et
Mm.
cetera. And so you had nothing.
Mm.
You had nothing but yourself and God and your ancestors,
Mhm.
which is it's a pretty bad way to travel. I ain't lying. I will pack through anytime. There you were, you and your people, you and your crew. What did you begin to learn about yourself? You mentioned that you realized you were choosing the same people over and over again. I heard you say that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
same people, same relationships. Therefore, it gives you the comfort of then also showing up the same yourself. You don't have to change because you're at the same people, same context. And so what did you learn about yourself while you walked the streets with your crew?
Yeah. I would say the main thing that I learned walking the streets with my crew, God ancestors, the main thing that I learned about myself was just how determined I am to really show up in the world in a powerful way. I dropped out of college because I thought I was gonna be a veterinarian, realized I didn't wanna do that, and dropping out of college was one of the most challenging decisions I ever made because I had literally my entire life thinking I was gonna have this career, that I was gonna be this person, and that was what I was working towards, full steam ahead. And so when I got hit with that realization, like, "Oh, I don't actually wanna do this, I wanna do something different," I went into a bit of a spiral. Not a bit of a spiral, a very deep, dark spiral. And so once I got back on track with the shifting my mindset and starting to uncover my creative gifts and my gift of holding space for others, I kept that at the forefront of my mind during this season. And while I wasn't so concerned about what job am I going to do for money to, you know, have supplies and, all of the things, I was very focused on, okay, what is it that I am meant to do to serve the world? What is the thing that I came here? What is it that my life came here to be? And that was always at the forefront of my mind. I literally spent just hours writing and contemplating and meditating and sitting and thinking about that, just so focused on what is it that my purpose is? What is it that I am here to do? And I'm really I'm really grateful for that season because not having all of the what time do I have to be here for this schedule? Or what is my responsibility for this? Oh, this situation happened at work and how am I going to resolve that? None of that was in my brain
Mhm.
because I had jumped out. I wasn't there. I wasn't connected to any of that. So all of my focus and my brain power and my attention got to go towards unpacking and unveiling and uncovering my gifts and what I came here in this life to do. And even now, I'm more clear than ever about what my service is. And I'm grateful for that. And I still have this drive in me of, okay, get this out. Now that you know the what, now it's still not time to get into the doing. And
Yeah.
so now it's not the what should I do, but what ways am I doing it? And so I still have that determination and that focus on being of service to the world.
I'm smiling for those of you who can't see. Yes. And so I so appreciate you talking about, discovering your gifts and your passions over the many 30 years that I've been in ministry. And sisters have always come to me, some in tears, saying, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what my gifts are. And I was like, not this abrupt as I'm going to say it now, but basically, how can you know if you're so busy running, doing all this other stuff? You're so busy. You're
Mhm.
so busy with life doing what you think you should do. You don't get a chance to know who you are, not who you are in this body, how you look, your hair, and that the personality, not that, but who you are in that God has placed you in this. You are emanation of God, and you're here on this beautiful earth for a time
Mm.
to express God. And how are you going to do that? You don't know what that is because you're too busy expressing culture and society. You're too
Yeah.
busy doing what society, culture has told you you should be doing. And that is so deep for Black women because,
Mhm.
from since the extraction from Africa, they've been telling us who we are, who are not, what we can do, what we cannot do, what we should do, shouldn't do, etc. Telling us in so many, sometimes very directly with legislation, and sometimes just by the shape of culture or by lack of access. So many ways in which they have really dictated who we can be, what we can do, etc., etc. So I'm so glad that again, you took this incredible step, made this incredible step to separate yourself from the world so that you could see what spirit had for you, to see what your spirit was calling and yearning for. Thank you. You're a wonderful example for sisters across the country and especially young sisters.
Thank you. Thank you. And
So,
I just wanna
no,
say
go
real
ahead.
quick,
Mhm.
um, kinda like what you said earlier, this was a very unique journey, and I have to, put the asterisk and say, you don't have to live your life as dramatically as I you know?
Don't
Um,
everybody leave their homes and go to the shelter.
yeah, yeah, not everybody has to go live out in their car and, be off the grid, you feel me? It really is a matter of just taking more time for yourself and being intentional about recognizing how much of your focus and your energy you're giving to other people and not to yourself. Like really breaking that down, really doing that math, really taking a look so that you can start to separate even while in the midst of your day to day da da da. Set the boundaries because you don't have to show up for everybody's everything.
Mhm.
You don't have to do especially Black women, you don't have to do everything for everybody at work. Let people do their own job, and if they're not that good at it, let them not be that good at it. It's okay. It's okay. Do what you are there to serve to do, and then leave the work at work, and then go home and spend time with and for yourself. Yeah, I just wanted to put that little asterisk.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
So all of us don't have to quit our jobs and go to shelter. But I also love the point you made, which is your job is separate from who you are. Um,
absolutely.
and that's just anti-cultural for us because we as the more we as Black community has tried to participate in, I would just say, capitalism, the more we've tried to participate in that, the more then we've tried to build careers, because in a capitalistic society you are defined and valued by what you do and what you have to show for what you do.
Yeah.
And so you make the great point of, hey, let your job be your job. It's the thing that earns you the money that meets whatever needs those are for money. But
Mhm.
who you are as a child of God, who you are as spirit, who you are as consciousness and awareness, who you are as divine has nothing to do with the job that you do.
And the beautiful thing is, something that I'm learning more is that as we learn to really tap into what our soul came in this plane to do, and we really surrender to being of service to the divine, that circulation starts coming in.
Mhm.
And we don't have to keep working a job. Now we are being of service and receiving the generosity that we have given out. Um, Again, once we really allow ourselves to live in that and not live for the job and the work, all needs met. Everything, seek the kingdom of heaven and all the things get added, And that really is a spiritual principle,
Yes.
and it's not about being the most righteous, holy person. It's about finding the kingdom within you, serving that out into the world and allowing the world to give back to you. And it really does work that way. I've been finding that more myself. Yeah.
Absolutely. I There's absolutely been true for my life. My work has always been part of my passion, gifts, and what I'm here for. Most of my life, the majority of my adult life, I've been in ministry and service to my calling, my passion. And I've been blessed, fortunate that I've been paid for my services. Not necessarily in an equitable way, but I've been fortunate that my career and ministry and purpose has always been blended. And so I've been very fortunate at this stage in life after retiring, and I'm still committed to doing what I know I'm meant to do here, which is to always to come alongside and support and love Black women. I believe that when I do when I when Black women have what they need, Black community has what it needs. And so when Black community has what it needs, it's a light to the rest of the world. And um, so along with the podcast and my book that I just recently finished, and I'm launching a couple other things, projects. It's always still the same thing. People say, "Don't you want to do something different now?" I'm like, this is what I'm here to do. I don't care what I try to do. It still ends up really being this. And so, but do I get paid to do that? Do I wish I got paid to do the things that I love to do at this stage of my life? I don't, but I'm so grateful that for 30 years of my life that I got paid to be in the place that I was supposed to be in, practicing and serving my gifts and talents and being infused with my passion. And so I'm really grateful for that. And as I start this other phase of life and doing new projects, but still the same thing, I'm still trusting that all my needs will be met. My bank account mostly doesn't say that it will be, but I tell my bank account, "You gonna do what you need to do. That's your job.
Mhm.
Imma do my job. You do your job."
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so can I live like I did years before? No. That's okay, but I live that life. But all my needs are met. I don't need or want for anything, but I'm not being paid for anything, but I don't need or want for anything. And so
Not yet. Listen, you can open yourself up to it. It'll find its way there. Your bank account start doing what it needs to do.
Yes. And
Mhm.
so I just wanted to say that because there are so many women who are fortunate to be able to fulfill their purpose in their jobs. Whatever job or career they have is also their purpose. But still, there needs to be a boundary. Even if your purpose is being expressed through a job, it is still a job. And you still need to separate the boundary of what is you personally and spiritually and what you need to be nourished, what you need to nourish yourself, to love yourself and to care for yourself and to be that example in Black community, be that self-loving, self-caring person in community. That's the greatest example
Mhm.
that we can show in our community is I think is Black women. Not necessarily the PhD in the six figures, but that you're a person who loves and cares for themselves and that love and care flows in the community. I think that's the greatest gift that we can bring to our community. And so now I'm
Yeah.
taking over the podcast, and it's not me, it's about you.
Well, you're feeding me, so I appreciate it. Yeah.
As we start moving towards a close, I wanted you to talk about the Spirit Awakening Foundation. So we made this great journey,
Mm.
and now you're podcaster, you're an author, but you're also working at Spirit Awakening Foundation. Tell us about that organization and the work that you're doing there.
Yeah. So that's another beautiful example of what we were just talking about because While I was living at the Union Rescue Mission in Skid Row, I decided to start volunteering in spaces and places that aligned with me. Spirit Awakening was one of those places. And so I started out just supporting with events and helping out to table and to help, tell people about this amazing nonprofit organization. And eventually I got onboarded because they saw me showing up with the enthusiasm, with the dedication. And it was really beautiful to be able to see that in action, to see being of divine service actually unfold into a paid opportunity.
Mhm.
And so Spirit Awakening is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting incarcerated and systems impacted youth and also young people who are in underserved communities by supporting them with self expression, emotional intelligence through the arts. So there's a lot of writing, skits, and they do like these back and forths about different circumstances, some of that they wrote, some that the facilitators wrote. There's also dancing and songwriting and visual art as well. And the reason that I said all the other things first is because as a visual artist, I have had to learn how to expand my definition of art. 'Cause that's not art, that's dancing. That's not art, that's writing. But I've come to understand that creative expression
Yeah.
comes in many forms and it is very healing, especially for this upcoming generation of leaders who are not being taught these things in school and all of the different situations with taking the arts out of schools and shifting curriculums and things of that nature. Having something like Spirit Awakening where these young people can come to express themselves visually and also verbally in a safe space is really powerful. And they have spaces all over Los Angeles and also in the juvenile hall systems. So they do go into the different juvenile halls and have classes and do songwriting and do visual art and do poetry. And I've heard I don't work at one of those locations, but I've heard some really powerful breakthroughs that have happened because of the work that Spirit Awakening is doing. So, yeah, it's a really wonderful place. And I'm grateful to be aligned with them. And again, what I do is still working for the events. Still doing the outreach, still shouting, cheerleading, and letting people know that this resource exists and that it really is powerful in changing lives.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to bring it back around to you. So you wrote your story, Days of Darkness. What do you hope that people will learn, glean from your book?
Yeah. The main message of Days of Darkness is that transformation is possible. There was a time when I was consumed by my environment, that I really thought my life had fizzled out and was pointless. And I was only 23. And I had to really take off my critical lenses and take off the self loathing and trust that the work that I was being led to would actually work. When I first started my journey in 2017, my healing journey, I really was just so at rock bottom. I was like, I have no idea if this is gonna work or not, but I literally have no other choice. There's nothing else offering a handout to me, but this is. And so I was listening to Earl Nightingale. I was listening to Les Brown. I was listening to Lisa Nichols. I was reading the books. I was going to the conferences. And just little by little, moment by moment, minute by minute, things started to look up for me. I started to feel lighter. And there were like some moments where like big dramatic shifts happened. Yeah. But the most important part for me to recognize is that it was just incremental. And I look at my life now and I recognize how much different I am internally, just how much lighter my heart is, just how much more peace I have, just how much more connectedness I feel, just how much more love is within me that was not there before. And I want people to know through reading this book that the transformation that I speak of that is in this book is actually possible and that I have lived it. I was not always this person. Please do not get confused. I was not always her. I was someone really different. And you just have to give yourself that grace and that space to do the work and be consistent. And that transformation will take place in ways beyond your imagination.
Thank you, Rev.
I appreciate you.
Your story is such an inspiring story. Your life, your journey, your experiences, and the incredible choices that you made, believing that there was always something more, something more. And even today, with life being as wonderful as it is, you still know that there's something more.
Mhm.
That is just such an inspiration, especially right now in this time where things we couldn't imagine would happen are happening in this day and age, and people are asking questions and looking for answers and solutions. Your story is an inspiration, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people to know that there will be
Mhm.
something more.
Thank you. That is my hope. That is my hope.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Thank you so much for, again, for your time and for your story, Angelique. We are grateful to be in your space. So until the next time, I get time, physical time to spend with you. Know that I love you and I'm always thinking of you.
Yes, I love you too. And I appreciate you. And I'm so grateful that I get to hold you in my heart and just know that, yeah, we are going to be continuing to connect. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Until the next time, darling.
Till the next time. Blessing.
If you want to be on the podcast, if you want to share your story, your wisdom, your strategies for change, please email me at blackwomentalkingback@gmail.com. We're lining up panelists all the time. We're going to do some panelists, and we're going to do a lot of individual interviews. So there are a lot of sisters have written books this last couple years. I want to interview sisters who are writing their stories, who are telling their stories in book form, those who are doing new research and policy work, just our gamut, the full gamut. So if you're interested in being on the podcast, please email me and let me know. Once again, I love you all. I love you, every single one of you. I love you. Until the next time, don't forget to follow us.